Hello and welcome, my name is Lynx, and we play The Driver, Takeshiba, Chapter 6, Remembrance Lost. Let us get into it. This part of the city, said Lady Hinode, as they were driving past an old car workshop. The whole area was completely deserted. Let me guess, except for an assassin somewhere. A ghost town of abandoned facilities, like a gas station, an old fire station, a parking garage, and a shopping center adjacent to an airport. Abandoned airport as well? Seriously? That's crazy. A larger scale construction work has been going on their usual route, so they had to take a detour. I used to come here to play. Play? Takeshiba repeated their last word, as if thinking. He knew the area, but felt like there was something missing. Something that Lady Hinode implied with her words that he didn't understand. Yes, play, she said with some hope in her words. But do you? Continued she, but... here we go again. The phone that Takeshiba carried rang. Unknown number. At first the driver looked instinctively at Lady Hinode because it was only she who ever called him on that phone. It was not her number. And she was right there, why would she call? Lady Hinode's face got dark, but she nodded, signaling Takeshiba to pick up. He pressed a button that connected the call into the car's speakers. Good morning, Herr Driver. Your employer is not taking calls, it seems. Please tell her that my name is... An intelligent villain. Murderish von Stab. Evil is the mistakes that weak minds make. It's unacceptable. So we have a German guy on tail. And that I have signed a contract to kill her, as well as you. Will must be professional, don't you think? Auf Wiedersehen. You're German and you're driving like a Mustang? What the heck, man? Said the assassin and hung up. Lady Hinode, who heard every word, turned pale. The surgical coldness of the conversation, the finality of the assassin's statements, and then... Okay, it's not a Mustang. But it's still not a German car for sure. The car that appeared in the rear view mirrors of the Ica Storm. Hockenheimer 991 Uberschallfalke. Using power with modern technology. I mean, that's not good. Modern technology kinda sucks. The Falke's all-around abilities and on-road competence are unmatched. The Hunter, always. Yeah, dude, modern technology in cars? No thanks, man. I honestly want my car to be like 95% mechanic and it can be 5% electronic. That's it. Like, most of the shite they put in the cars is so freaking not needed. Anywho, no, also not like I could afford not like I could afford a car with all this shite in it, but I will still complain. Lady Hinode looked at Takeshiba-kun. At once she felt a deep longing to take his hand, to feel that he was still there, real. Well, I mean, the thing is he had to drive, so kind of important he's able to use those hands now, especially with assassin on his back. But it wasn't possible. The evasive maneuver that followed just a second later pressed her firmly into her seat. And as they were evading the sinister hitman, again, guys, you need to. This is a one word. ATP projects, come on. Lady Hinode could not help but still think. Okay, we are by the petrol station. Got it. You know, for an abandoned petrol station, it is definitely very clean. Of why she had asked Takeshiba-kun to take this route. And that if this was going to be their last drive together, that will most certainly be all her doing. How did you know? She called out to the assassin out of despair. But you are not on the call anymore, so. But there was no response, obviously. And she knew that he must have known, must have found out the entire history. Something that she tried to keep hidden. What do you mean? Only addressing it to her closest. What are you talking about? I want to know what you're talking about now. But the sudden instability of the car prevented her from fully realizing the consequences of that thought. She simply looked at Takeshiba-kun. It was such an unfamiliar movement that the car made, that it was instantly apparent to her that it was him. Takeshiba-kun. Something made him as if pause for a second. Did he hesitate? There was something about his movements as if... But before Lady Hinode could finish the thought in her head, the Ica Storm was already up the ramp to the airport terminal. As if nothing happened, that momentary concern she had about Takeshiba-kun evaporated as she felt his hands back firmly gripping the wheel and shifting gears with focused lightness. Nice. It's not automatic. Good job, Takeshiba-kun. Correct choice. It was this exact aura that always made her feel safe when he was driving her. It was all. It must have been worth it. But the Hockenheimer was the Ica Storm's equal. Driven by the determined assassin, the Uberschallfalke was able to match the Ica Storm's pace, and its driver was keeping up with Takeshiba's techniques almost effortlessly. With a handbrake turn, the Ica Storm turned around deeper into the old terminal's access ways. The Uberschallfalke did a handbrake turn as well. Its acceleration was so quick that a Murderish von Stab could afford taking corners slightly more precisely by slowing down. Knowing he could make up the time by accelerating and catching up to his prey in a heartbeat. Dude, it's like every single assassin has a better car than ours. It's crazy. Which was how the assassin always got his targets. Wearing them down, forcing mistakes. And he has not escaped von Stab that the White Ica Storm has had a bit of a moment before. Such things were always a sign of weakness. And Murderish never made a single mistake. Unless Takeshiba did it on purpose. Could have been done on purpose. That was why he was the best. Was he? Those are some tight spaces, by the way. Holy crap. If that was designed in real life, oof. Whoever employed the person that is responsible for that design in real life, oof. You're not getting a job ever again. I mean, come on. Turn like that is impossible to make. No chance you are making that turn with a car. Anywho. Up on the second level, a series of tight turns made their tires screech as they struggled for grip. The Ica Storm could not get any distance between itself and the Uberschallfalke. Really? Again, I will talk right now about what we see in the screen. I would say he made some distance for. As they were passing the central elevator, suddenly it was apparent. Trapped. A thought had flashed through Lady Hinode's mind as she saw her surroundings. The car of Murderish von stopped, waiting for Takeshiba to make his move. To try something. Anything. Only to put himself and his precious cargo in a vulnerable position, which would allow him to strike. Murderish knew this stage of the hunt so well. It was over. The people in the Aika storm just needed to realize it. But then... Hold on very tight, Lady Hinode, Takeshiba said, and she instinctively braced herself. Takeshiba revved the engine to its optimum accelerating RPMs, rotation per minute, or whatever, lowered the right part of the suspension, and released the clutch, the nose of the car pointing straight into the elevator. The Hinode didn't even have time to gasp, as she suddenly felt weightless. A touch of the left wall tilted the car just before jumping, and they started falling to the opposite ramp. Murderish von stopped realizing what was happening already started backing up. Lady Hinode was in a shock. She could not bring herself to utter a sound, and only watched with eyes wide open the approaching edge of the ramp. The car landed sideways on the ramp and began to slide down. Von Stapp cursed between his teeth as he turned the car to see where they have ended up. The impact left Lady Hinode out of breath. A slow glide towards the base of the ramp followed as Takeshiba balanced the car, preventing it from falling down. Von Stapp wasted no time calculating all their options, choosing the most advantageous course of action, cutting them off. He disappeared from their sight and continued to pursue them on the third level. Still shaken from the impact, Takeshiba and Lady Hinode took the only road available to them. "Are you right, Lady Hinode?" Takeshiba asked. She looked at him, and still couldn't utter a word, and only nodded quickly, attempting to smile. Meanwhile, the Hockenheimer was positioned on top of the abandoned firefighters' headquarters. What? The Akastorm looked to be going straight into his trap. But then... The sharp turn, Takeshiba changed direction and took the side exit. The Uberschallfalkes momentum that Von Stapp calculated for direct impact was at a stroke working against him. The assassin had to gently reduce the speed, slide the car around the bend to lose as little speed as possible. Regaining speed, Murderish Von Stapp set his sights on the Ica storm again. He lost some ground, but... Takeshiba-kun! Lady Hinode whispered in shock. It happened again. For a second or two, her driver seemed to have lost concentration, as if being upset by something. I think he's doing that on purpose. I think so. I might be wrong, but I would say he might be doing this on purpose. Anyway, she burst into tears. The thought of something that was troubling or affecting Takeshiba-kun was unbearable to her. What was happening? The Hockenheimer was immediately on them. All that Murderish needed was a split second. He knew that his target was weak now. It was only a matter of time. Until there would be one mistake too many from his prey. Patience, Murderish. Patience. Now following closely behind, the Uberschallfalke pursued the Storm up the levels. At the top, the Storm opened a slight gap, but the Hockenheimer was not concerned, and kept the pressure on the white car. You know what? Where do I know they want Hockenheimer from? Yeah, it's a city in Germany, of course that's what. No, Hockenheim was the city. What's a Hockenheimer then? I wonder if it's basically a person living there, or being from there in general. I guess you could say that. Oh yeah, there is. That's right. Hockenheim also has a racetrack, doesn't it? Am I correct in that? Yeah. Hockenheimring, Baden-Württemberg. I do believe this was a track in Formula One, right? Yeah. I don't think they raced this year. Oh, also, isn't Hockenheim like a super common track? Not just for F1, actually, now that I think about it. First F1 race was in 1970. To be fair, if an assassin is from there, and maybe he learned to drive there or whatever, he must be a good driver. Anyway, at the top, the iCustom opened the slide gap, but the Hockenheimer was not concerned and kept the pressure on the white car. For through the connected levels of the abandoned facilities, the hunt went on. Okay, he's cutting here. Back at the old terminal, von Staubman, certain Takeshiba and Lady Hinode would be forced to take the road to the old gas station. Why do you want to go? Why would you want them to go there? It was all going according to the assassin's plan. One more mistake! Just one. They entered the parking lot at the top of the gas station. Relentlessly, the Hockenheimer continued to follow the Bishiyama of Lady Hinode and Takeshiba. And it has escaped her that the two drivers were evenly matched. But the silence of their adversary, so different from all the previous opponents. I mean, that's the correct approach, I would assume. Wouldn't you assume that, like, an assassin that calls you constantly and yaps might not be that good? Yuichi, she whispered, as if hoping it would give him strength to focus to be himself, to not give in to this place. Ever since that second time that Takeshiba couldn't seem to get unsettled, Lady Hinode was completely certain. They were. They must have been. Memories of this place that she asked him to drive through today. As she did several times ever since she hired him to be her driver. In the hopes. But today, could it finally? And yet all her hopes coming true would most certainly be their downfall. Today, with the patient ace assassin behind them. She followed Takeshiba-kun's movements, looking for any signs of disruption, but for now, all seemed to be alright. And yet she could not help but to be overcome by an overwhelming sense of terror. They were approaching the place. What place? What is the place? Lady Hinode knew it. It was never her plan to reach this place. Not on the same day that he would first remember. What? And at once, she was hoping with all her heart that he would, and with all her heart that he wouldn't. One leading to her fears being realized, the other leading to their end. And then there was the car roundabout. The killer still thoughtlessly following them. And as they exited, Lady Hinode held her breath. It was an impossible situation. Death. By the assassin's car. Or by knowing that Takeshiba would never. Would never what? She closed her eyes because there was nothing else she knew to do. I'm so confused. At that moment, a jolt went through Takeshiba. Like the two times before, a strange image filled his consciousness. The image of Lady Hinode in this place. As he had passed the buildings before, those images were of her standing next to them. being there with him. But now, when he realized what was in front of him, Lady Hinode opened her eyes, having not registered through her body any unusual sensations. He didn't remember. And with that realization, she sank to the seat and loosened her grip on the seat. Perhaps she would have rather been dead at the hands of that assassin than to know that there is no hope for her. What was he? What, what was he supposed to remember? But Lady Hinode didn't see the Hockenheimer gathering speed. She did not notice it, but Takeshiba did make an unusual maneuver getting on the road. It was going to give them a means of getting away, but only if they could outrun the Hockenheimer, who would be in the optimal position to ram into the side of them. And Murderich von Stapp wasted no time. The engine of the Oberschallfalke screamed as the car rushed to their position, on a trajectory that made it mathematically impossible to miss them. The impact was inevitable, but then an impossible to see pothole caught the right front wheel of the assassin's car. The Oberschallfalke instantly lost grip and was sent to the air by its own inertia, tumbling twice, 3 times. Still on its side, it continued to slide, completely incapacitated. When at last it landed on its roof, it was over. And it was Takeshiba's doing. He did remember. And he also recalled that strange pothole that Lady Hinode almost stepped into. It was impossible to anticipate if one didn't know it was there. Or if one, on instinct, didn't feel like something would be there to spoil their adversary's pursuit. As Takeshiba drove through the old car wash, he finally was able to look at Lady Hinode. She was crying, looking at him with bleeding eyes. You know, for someone who's been through so many assassinations, you'd expect her to not be a crybaby like this anymore. Maybe. For what would I know? And all he could put together was that she must have been, in that past, happy. And he wished that he would see more of that face, the face he saw in those momentary microscopic dreams, or illusions he experienced just now. If there was anything he could do to stop her tears and to end her pain, he would do whatever she would ask of him. That's how he felt. Always. And that's how that chapter 6 comes to an end. And so does this video. For now, as always. Hope you enjoyed. And we'll continue tomorrow. Consider liking the video if you enjoyed, of course. And if you're new around, consider subscribing. Always super appreciated if you decide to stick around. And I shall continue playing games for the YouTubes still. With that being said, I wish you a fantastic day. Bye-bye.